I always knew I wanted to work with animals. I didn't know exactly what that would look like, but I knew I wasn't really interested in anything else. I have quite vivid memories being a child and in school of just always having this sort of itchy feeling. If I was sat down at a desk, I wanted to be outside doing something. The first ever time I held a bird of prey, I was about 10 years old, and it was on a family holiday to Spain actually. Quite a strange experience. The hotel we were staying in had a private swimming pool, and the hotel had arranged for a falconer to come and entertain all the guests. So he turned up and he had a couple of birds with him. I didn't know what they were at the time, but I do now know. One was a grey buzzard eagle, a juvenile grey buzzard eagle, and the other was a kookaburra. And he let us hold them. We paid some euros to hold the birds and have our pictures taken. And then he tried to fly them. There is a reason that I do not allow handles with my business at events I go to. So this grey buzzard eagle was passed around all the guests, including me, and then he tried to do a flying display, and she was not having it, and she flew off. And so my first experience watching a display with birds of prey was of this falconer running across the beach in Spain and then trying to climb a cliff where his grey buzzard eagle had landed on top because he'd annoyed her by passing her around everybody. But when I did hold that bird, it was just absolutely magical. It's something that will stick with me for the rest of my life, and I will never forget the feeling. When it was coming towards the end of school, in year 11 after GCSEs, it was time to pick what I needed to do in college. I decided I wanted to go to the local animal and agricultural college to study animal management and science. I got myself a placement after an interview, and as part of that diploma, you have to do 300 hours of relevant work experience. Now, there are only limited businesses that will actually take students on. And so I knew that I would be in competition with all of the other students on the course to get a placement that I wanted. So I thought I would get a head start, and in the summer between leaving school and starting college, I went round and I did work experience at as many different animal related places as I could. So I spent a couple of weeks at a livery yard, learning to ride a horse, a livestock auction centre, a farm, spent some time at a vet's, but also there was a local falconer who lived just around the corner. And so I asked him if I could do a couple of weeks of work experience, and we arranged a date. So it came to that date and I went round, and we went up to have a look at his birds, and he flew a barn owl over to me. And then after flying the barn owl, he let me hold one of the Harris hawks, and he said to me he's never met anybody who is this comfortable and confident with these animals that fast. And then on our third day of work experience, it was only supposed to be 2 weeks long, he hired me. So while studying animal management and science, I was also thrust into this world of displays and working with birds of prey. And there was no sort of lead up to it or nice introduction. I was just pushed into an arena with some birds and told to speak about them and fly them. And I ended up doing that job for 3 years. We more than tripled the amount of shows that we had during that time. And things really started to get crazy. I was doing displays all the time with lots of different birds. In March this year, it was time to start getting the birds ready for the upcoming show season. Whilst we have not had any events for the past 2 years and we've struggled with bird flu, all of the birds have still been flown, so they're all flown regularly, but flying them at home on familiar ground is really different to flying them at an event. And some of my birds, they just don't have any experience in going and doing a display at an event that they've never been to before. So I had to change some of the training that I did. I'm very lucky with where I live that I have about 200 acres of farmland permission from a few different farms, all connecting to my garden. So there's lots of different places that I can take the birds to fly them. So to prepare for displays, I decided I would start flying the birds in as many different fields as I possibly could. Starting off with Sky, my Joanna Falcon. She gives me a lot of concern for these displays because at home she's very comfortable and she knows her local geography and she likes to range out, and it's not weird for her to go out of sight before coming back to the field that I'm stood in to chase the lure. But I can't really have that at an event that she's never been to before when she doesn't have any display experience. If she takes off out of the arena and goes out of sight somewhere she's never been and she's not used to doing displays, it's unlikely that she'll find her way back. So rather than letting her range out, I started working on springing that lure as soon as her hood came off, just to get her really lure bound so she stays nice and tight and close to me, just for this first year of shows. I also have to prepare the hawks. I've got 2 Harris hawks and they're a social species. I really want to do cast displays, so that's flying both of them in the arena at the same time. But whilst Peggy has flown with other hawks before and Patsy has flown with other hawks before, I've never flown the 2 of them together. So I had to introduce them both together, get them both comfortable flying with each other, so that hopefully we can do displays with both of them this year.
Well, that actually went really well, probably as well as it could have gone. They both flew around nicely, they both seemed to know what they were doing, they even joined each other on a perch at one point, and it didn't all break out in a great big fight. Both birds are back, both birds are secure, nobody was killed or injured. That was a success. Let's keep doing it.
After spending a few years being a display falconer with this first ever business I worked for, I then left that and went all the way down to Gloucestershire, and I became a volunteer at the International Centre for Birds of Prey. And this was a real eye-opener. I got very comfortable with the way I did things and the way I did displays, and so to go to one of the best centres in the world, the first ever centre to open in the UK, I realised I had a lot to learn. I would watch their displays and study them and think about how I could change my own, and they were doing little bits of retraining, stuff that they were teaching the rest of the volunteers, like the proper falconer's knot, how to swing a lure properly, how to handle and do the safety positions. All of this I hadn't been doing properly for the first 3 years of my falconry career. I'm really, really thankful that I went and became a volunteer there, because I learned so much and it's stayed with me for the rest of my career, and it's how I do things still to this day. It's quite funny for me to think back to that first business I worked for and how little I actually knew, but I had no idea that I didn't know. And the things we did are just not up to the standard that I try to hold with my own business now. Towards the end of March, I was starting to panic a little bit because I put all my eggs in this one basket of my business. I'd not done anything for 2 years. This was the year it was supposed to all kick off and be successful. And I only had about 3 shows, and that's not a full business. So I was starting to panic and thought I needed to find another income. So I started contacting some pest control companies, specifically just to use my birds for bird control, just as a bit of extra cash and a way to keep the birds flying for work. I'm very lucky that the career that I've had meant that pest control companies were quite eager to hire me, and I kind of had 3 different companies almost fighting over me. One of the companies didn't quite have enough to offer. Another of the companies just wanted way too much for me. I just wouldn't have been able to continue running my own business. But then I found my Goldilocks pest control company, who understood I had my own business, wanted to be flexible, and asked exactly how much work I wanted. I was sat down in Oxford, which is a 2-hour drive from where I live. So I decided to take 2 days a week, and to begin with, it was just 4-hour visits. When we do pest control with the birds, we're not there to try and kill everything. This was for gull control, and gulls are protected, so it's actually illegal for me to start killing them. were purely there as a deterrent. We introduce a predator into the area on regular visits to try and prevent the gulls from making their nests and scare them off to a different place. So I would start by tethering Peggy to the roof, and that would annoy all the gulls in the area. They'd all pick up. And then I would walk around on site with a few other birds. I used Sway, my Eurasian eagle owl, not a typical bird for pest control, and I had quite a few pest control friends laugh at me when I told them I was going to use an owl for clearing gulls. But his huge size and the fact that he's an imprint and just wants to stay with me means he was excellent for pest control. The gulls absolutely hated him and they went nuts. So after flying Sway and a couple of other birds around on ground floor, I'd go back up to the office roof and I'd fly Sky around to try and clear off the last remaining brave ones. During this time, after having a big panic that nobody was booking me for shows, as soon as I accepted to do the pest control, things just went absolutely nuts. And I think I went from about 3 shows booked in to about 15 in the space of a couple of weeks. And the first show of the year was Kelmarsh Country Fair.
The birds are in the trailer, the dogs are loaded. We've just stopped for breakfast, but we are officially on our way to Kelmarsh Show. I'm currently just test flying Sway. Got him here in the arena with me. It's always lovely to come and do these displays that happen on multiple days because it means we get to test fly the birds when we arrive the day before, which means we should be able to see how the birds are going to do for the actual display, rather than having everything a surprise. Come on then! Sway! Oh, he's watching a paraglider.
So after 2 years off, it was all leading up to this, and I have to admit I was pretty damn nervous. I'd not been in an arena for 2 years. I'd not done a display, I'd not done a commentary, and most of the birds I was using were not experienced display birds, so I was quite nervous for this event. I would absolutely love to say it went perfectly, but it did not. It didn't go exactly to plan. Peggy decided to leave the arena. She started off flying lovely around the perches. I was getting back into the swing of doing a commentary, and then she got bored, and there were some close by trees, so she decided to go and sit in those trees instead.
Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're due to start our first item here in the countryside arena. Grab yourself a place around the ringside to watch some serious birds flying. Now here we've got the Harris's hawk, as you can see, that brown bird on that perch. And Harris's hawks actually come from South America. And they hunt in packs. Fascinating bird. We're going to find out all about that from the man himself, Dan Mercer. Over to you.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Kelmarsh Show. Thank you very much for stealing half of my commentary there. But I'm sure I can add on that. My name's Dan from Mercer Falconry, and here with me I've got Peggy. She almost got distracted by something then. Yesterday was our first day here. This is our first event back. Something spooked her, and oh, like that, she flew off over there. Just like that. That happened yesterday. Great. 2 days in a row. Thank you very much, Peggy.
But as soon as I went over, called her down and got back into the arena, she did continue, and she did really well. And then I flew Sway, the Eurasian eagle owl, and he's such a great bird. He did exactly what I wanted. There were no hiccups, no threat of him disappearing at all. He was just exactly how I wanted him to be.
And here with me I've got Sway. Are you going to go on the perch over there? Sway did fly yesterday. I'm flying on the same birds today as I did yesterday. So if anybody was here yesterday, you get to see exactly this.
And then I also flew Sky, and again this was her first ever display. So I was really nervous for her, but she did really great. Not quite as fit as I wanted her to be, and that's because I've reduced her weight, just to make her a little bit more keen, so she really does keep her focus on me. But what she did was kind of perfect and exactly what I wanted for our first show back.
There it is, you can see it there, off you go. The Sky is actually a hybrid falcon. That was very close. Can you go a bit further away from the Sky? And she's a Ger falcon crossed with a Lanner falcon. Now, Ger is a large, white Arctic species of falcon, and the Lanner is an African species. That was a close one. The reason we make this particular hybrid is because we like the huge, powerful traits of the Ger. However, being an Arctic species, they're not used, and they don't have any natural bodily defences to any kind of pathogens or conditions associated with the warm climate. So we hybridise her with the African species, and then it means we get all that big power of the Ger falcon, which means she can acclimatise better to this country. Good girl. Now, falcons are classed as long wings, so you'll notice, compared to the size of her body, if you think about Sway, she's got incredibly long wings. And that's because falcons are all about speed. They have to catch other birds. So, to catch a bird, you have to be very quick, very agile in the air. But, if you have a very thick wing, like Sway does, a very broad wing, all the air traffic around it causes drag, friction. And so that slows it down. So the falcons have evolved to have very thin wings, a nice little point on the end. Good girl. She tried really hard there.
All in all, for a first show after 2 years off, I am happy with how Kelmarsh Show went.
But for now, thank you everybody for watching.
Right, so a proper round of applause. Excellent stuff. Well done, Dan. That's from Mercer Falconry. He's going back to his falconry new.
Well, that can't go on YouTube.
After spending 2 years volunteering at ICBP and being completely retrained and having my whole falconry reality shattered, I ended up getting a job as bird staff at their sister centre, the National Centre for Birds of Prey. Now, this was only a seasonal position, so it was only for about 8 months, but this is where I took my displays from the standard of that small first business I worked for to the ICBP standard. I got so much experience working with all kinds of different birds, doing displays 5 days a week. I had the time of my life. It was great. But because it was seasonal, it had to come to an end. And so then I found myself, for the first time since leaving school, without a career, working with birds of prey. And that was a strange time for me. Another show we did in April was Tamworth Castle for St George's Day. Second display of the year, and this was a great one. The audience were absolutely amazing.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Tamworth Castle. My name's Dan, and I'm from Mercer Falconry. We have another chance to do, and I'm going to try and get Sway to come down over the top of you, down into the arena. Sway, come in. Good boy. So, Sway is a Eurasian eagle. There you go. Out of the way. Yeah. Yeah. So here's a large Arctic species. They've got loads of power, loads of muscle, called climbers. They go down in fences located in one round here. That is it for this display. Thank you very much for watching. We've got our wedding lawns and the birds just around the corner. Come and have a look at the birds. Come and ask as many questions as you would like. We also have social media birds on screen. And now, thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of the day.
Then our third show was a place called the Chester House Estate.
Morning everybody, welcome to the Chester House Estate.
They designed an entire falconry day around my visit. So we were there with our static display. We had some educational things for people to look at, matching feathers to birds, looking at owl pellets, having a go at tying the knot. And we also did our flying displays. And they kept telling me that this was the first day since they'd opened that they had been completely booked out. So that was a really good feeling to know that my business was actually starting to take off and make a difference. In May this year, I got a brand new bird. I was so excited for this bird. I've worked with a few eagles in my career, and I absolutely love working with them. There's just something special about the eagles that I really enjoy. So this year I decided to get one of my very own. His name is Hara, and I decided I was going to imprint him. So I got him at just 5 days old, just a tiny little ball of white fluff that could sit in the palm of my hand. Now the reason I chose to raise him myself is because I had this line of shows, and I was going to be using this eagle for the rest of his life for doing displays. I wanted to make sure that he grew up in the environment so he was very comfortable there. So he started coming to all of the events with us, and he would come in the arena even as a tiny little chick and do displays with me. Last night I was given the news that the 2020 Falconry Fair is going to be cancelled. I'm very good friends with the person who owns the fair, so I get to find these things out usually before most other people. But it's not something I wanted to hear. Officially starting my business right at the start of this year, I knew it might take a few weeks to get into things. And then when everything sort of kicked off in March, we weren't sure whether it was going to go ahead, but no official decision had been made. And I was really hoping that things would clear up and get a lot easier by May, in time for the fair. But it's just looking like it's just not going to be safe enough to gather that many people around together. It's unlikely that it would even be allowed, really. I know some events are going ahead this year, but fair is just a bit too soon. We don't know how things are going to turn out by May. So that's really annoying. hoping it would be the biggest, big sort of kick-off to me entering the scene as my fully fledged own business, having done it for quite a few years for other people. But I guess there's always next year. We can make everything bigger and better and come back with a bang. The 2021 Falconry Fair, Mercer Falconry flying. But yeah, no fair this year, unfortunately. So the decision to cancel the 2021 Falconry Fair has just been made, which is rubbish. I was really hoping by now that things would start to pick up and I'd be able to get back into doing displays and shows, but obviously not. So, but birds still need training and flying, so that when all of this rubbish and nonsense of the past year and so a bit is over, hopefully we can get back into things soon, I'm hoping. But that's this year's Falconry Fair not happening again. But we'll carry on. I've got some very exciting news. I've just officially been asked to be part of the organising committee for the Falconry Fair. Now, obviously it's not going ahead this year, we know that, but it means that for 2022 next year, I officially get to help organise it and make decisions. So I will be doing displays as well. This is very exciting news. So that's going to make next year very exciting. Yeah. An official lineup for the 2022 Falconry Fair has just been released, and it's looking like it's going to be a very busy day for me. Just show you. So here it is. Up close with raptors around the arena. That's where we'll be doing a walk around with the birds that are going to be on display. I'll be doing a commentary for that. Then 10:45 Mercer Falconry, my first display of the day. There at 1:30 Mercer Falconry again. And I'm also on the microphone announcing everybody in between. So it's going to be a very busy day for me. One of the most important events for this year for my business, and really for my career, is the British Falconry and Raptor Fair.
Good morning everybody, welcome back to the 2022 British Falconry and Raptor Fair. To kick off the day I've got Peggy, who is quite eager to go. Let me put some food on the perch first. Now Peggy usually takes a couple of little flights just to get her going. I need to switch her on, we usually do that with just a little piece of food. Many hawks will just be happy to get going straight away, but Peggy tends to get a bit distracted and I just have to remind her that I have all the food. There we go. Right, back on the perch, let's see go. Now, we're going to try the perch over here. So Harrison's a southern American species of bird of prey. Find these in areas such as Argentina, Chile, Mexico, and even some very southern states of North America. And they live on quite a dry, deserty land. But the Harrison's quite a unique bird, really. Maybe one on there? It's not a cicator, it's Parabuteo unicinta. So we're not going to do the trimming bit, but I am going to show you how I file. Which side do you want to be on? Take your pick.
faster is this front point. Oh my god, what is this beak made of? I think she's reinforced this. And just take that down a bit until it nicely matches the other side.
Para, look at you, what a filthy face. What are you doing in that box? The name Para is the Nepalese word for home. The scientific name for the steppe eagles is Aquila nepalensis. Aquila meaning eagle, which is derived from the word aquilus, which just means dark in colour. So steppe eagles are all brown, very much like the golden eagles. And nepalensis just means from Nepal. So these are the types of eagles that we get soaring around Mount Everest. So she's got a long way to go before she starts soaring anywhere.
Give us a wave.
After leaving NCBP, and for the first time finding myself without a career with birds of prey, I needed to find something to do. And in Yorkshire, I just couldn't find any falconry centre or bird of prey related jobs. I had a few interviews for pest control companies using the birds for bird control, but at the time I was too young to be insured on these companies' vehicles, and so they couldn't hire me. So at this point I'd met my now partner Josh, and he lived down in Sutton Coldfield near Birmingham. We haven't known each other long, but he kept saying to me as a joke, "Why don't you look for jobs down here in Sutton Coldfield?" And I kept saying, "No, that's silly. We've not known each other long and I'll never leave Yorkshire." But time kept going and I kept not finding a job. So one day, just out of interest, I thought I'd have a look, and the amount of jobs further down south that were available was really quite shocking to me. So I bit the bullet and I applied to one. I came down for an interview and I got a job with a pest control company. They didn't use birds of prey or falconry for pest control, but they hired me because it's something they were looking to get into, and so the idea would be that they would start to use my birds that I'd started collecting to get into that line of work. And so I picked up my entire life from Yorkshire and I moved it all the way down to live with my partner Josh and start my new job doing bird control with birds of prey. That was quite strange for me because it almost felt like I was saying goodbye to displays. This year hasn't all been about the displays at the events for my business. We also do experience sessions and photography sessions and educational visits. During our experience sessions, people come for 3 hours and they get to spend all that time flying different birds with us. It's not just boring A to B from a perch to a glove. I like to take the people out into the field where the birds fly at home, where they're very comfortable, and we kind of just let the birds do what they naturally want to do. And occasionally they come down to a glove. But I just think it's so much more exciting and natural to see these birds behaving how they want to, rather than just strict training A to B flying. On our photography sessions, we do static pictures, so we put the birds in sort of natural settings for photographers to take pictures of, and then we also do flying, and we try and set it up in a way that the photographers can really get the best pictures of the birds flying. So these are really fun to do in between the pest control and the displays. As well as the educational visits, we've been to some schools, we've been to some club events, and we go to a college, and we get to teach young kids about birds of prey and the natural ecosystem and wildlife that we have here in Britain and around the world.
All the way back in 2020, I started speaking to a breeder about a bird. I'm not going to reveal what bird it is yet, but it's quite a big one. He's going to have his own video coming out, but now we're in 2022, so I've been waiting for 2 years for this bird, and he's now only 6 weeks away. But he can't currently fit in the housing that I've got. So today's mission is to build some new weatherings. They're going to be built alongside this larger weathering that I've got here. So the first thing we had to do was to close that door up in there because it's going to be built straight on the side of that. And yesterday we built this new door on the front. So today, it's going to be a day of building. It wasn't easy when you don't have a very level garden, but we have a frame down on the floor. So this is how big the new compartments are going to be. So it's day 2 of the building. I forgot to do any more filming yesterday because we were so busy and in a rush trying to get it all built. We've got basically 2 spare days to get all this housing built, so didn't do much filming, but we managed to get most of the frame up. So it's about midday on day 2 and we have completely edited everything that we did yesterday, so that now can be aviaries rather than compartments. So we had to take supporting beams out of the front and make a gap and then add in door supports on all the bits. So they've now all got their own entrance to get in and out of, and we had to build them all a bunch of doors. You could tell we're getting better at this because the other day it took us several hours just to build this door, and we've just managed to build all 4 of them in about half an hour. So we're getting better at building things, but we've still got a long way to go. It's now the end of day 2 and we've managed to get all of the back bits of OSB on, and also the roof. There's still the end panel to go on all the way down there, all the way over there, and all the dividers need to go in, and then all the mesh needs to go on the front, and it also needs painting, and we need to put felt on the roof, and I seem to have I forgot how much was still left to do, but I think we're making a good effort. It's well on its way, but now it's time to tidy everything away, put it all away for tomorrow because it's barbecue time. As you can see, it's very sunny, so we'll start again tomorrow.
So after being a pest control technician with the birds for a couple of years, I was really missing displays. I was happy that I was working with birds, but pest control is just not what I wanted to do, and something was missing. And then I was given the offer to be in charge of and run a centre just round the corner from where I live, and I couldn't turn it down. Getting back into the centre environment, back into displays, it is exactly what I wanted. So I left the pest control job and I started working at the Falconry Centre just round the corner from where I live. And then at the end of 2019, coming into 2020, that centre just couldn't keep itself going. And again, I found myself without a job, without an obvious career in falconry and birds of prey. And when my grandfather died, he left me some inheritance money. But he stated in his will that he wanted that money to be used for something life-changing. Now, I had had it in my head for a long time that I wanted my own business, similar to the one that I started my career with, but bigger and better. So the life-changing thing that I used my granddad's inheritance money on was to get myself a licence to start my own business, Mercer Falconry.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Clifton Campville Country Fair. My name is Dan from Mercer Falconry. Francie's got a good girl. Excellent work, Scott.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the great Rempstone Country Fair. My name is Dan from Mercer Falconry, and I have got with me Sky. And she's got a good girl. And here with me, I've got Patsy and I've got Jake.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Alrewas Show. I hope you've all had a good day. My name is Dan from Mercer Falconry, and here with me I have got Sky. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Southport Flower Show. My name is Dan from Mercer Falconry, and here with me I have got Mark. Good boy! Good boy! Good boy! Oh, I'm very happy with that. I'm not happy how long it took, but I'm very happy that he came back. I wasn't expecting that. Oh, you're a good boy, Hara.
Quite doing great Driffield Radio. It's Dougie here, having a walk around the show at the Driffield Showground. It's amazing what's here, and I've come across the birds of prey, and wow, they look absolutely superb. One of the guys in charge here is called
Dan Mercer.
Dan. Tell us some of the birds that you've got here today.
We've got a lovely range of birds. We've got a few Harris hawks, which are technically a buzzard from South America. We've got a hybrid falcon called Sky. She's a gerfalcon crossed with a lanner falcon. We have a barn owl, which is not a standard common British barn owl. She's a dark-breasted barn owl, so she's got different colours. We've got a Eurasian eagle owl, which is one of the largest species of owl in the world. And we have a fallen-fold steppe eagle.
Wow, you've got a complete range of birds here. Thank you so much for talking to us. We look forward to your display later on this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.